Welcome, truth seekers and freedom lovers. This is Makia Freeman with the Freedom Articles. It is video number 248. Today is Thursday, September 11th, 2025. It's a day after Charlie Kirk has been shot. And like everyone around the world, our sincere condolences to his family. It's horrific what happened. But what I want to do in this video is go through the evidence that Israel was behind it. Now, Kirk was most definitely a member of the fake alternative media or the mainstream alternative media, because he was an Israel firster. He was constantly shilling for Israel. However, towards the end of his life, in the last few weeks and the last few months, he started to think a bit more critically about Israel and Jewish donors and started actually to speak up and question some things to his credit. So let's go through some of the interviews and things that he did, or some of the presentations that he gave, and see what he was saying leading up to the end. And we're going to start with this clip here, which contains two different clips of him, two different segments of him, challenging three different things. Jewish donors, what they're funding, the October 7th false flag operation, and then also his commentary on Israel being on the brink of civil war.
And Jewish donors, they have a lot of explaining to do, a lot of decoupling to do, because Jewish donors have been the number one funding mechanism of radical, open border, neoliberal, quasi-Marxist policies, cultural institutions, and nonprofits. This is a beast created by secular Jews. And now it's coming for Jews, and they're like, what on earth happened? And it's not just the colleges. It's the nonprofits, it's the movies, it's Hollywood, it's all of it. It's like, time for you guys to wake up and say no more. Draw a line in the sand. I don't care if you hate me. I'm in Israel, man.
So that's pretty interesting that he would actually speak out against Jewish donors there, given how much of a shill he's been for Israel for so long. And his exact term there was radical, open border, neoliberal, quasi-Marxist policies. Now, it's easy for people in the conservative, in the right wing to point at open borders and to point at transgenderism and targets like that. But he actually talks about quasi-Marxist. And that's interesting because it was leading Jewish people, or what I would actually better say is the cult within Judaism, the cult that hijacked Judaism, that created cultural Marxism and created all this stuff that later became political correctness and woke ideology, and basically destroyed countries by changing the culture rather than a frontal assault by military or a coup. And the cultural Marxism thing is huge because ultimately the cult that rules the world, they have a lot of weapons at their disposal. One of their chief weapons is actually controlling the narrative and ideology. And so if they can spread ideologies which are toxic, which are going to destroy freedom, they're going to destroy unity, destroy human rights, they'll do that because they can take over countries that way. And that's what cultural Marxism has led to. So he saw some of that at least. Now, in this interview, he talks about the October 7th event and how suspicious it was, and how Netanyahu was trying to change the constitution and take power away from the judicial branch, and that Israel was on the brink of a civil war.
Many times, the whole country's a fortress. When I first heard this story, I still had the same gut instinct that I did initially. I find this very hard to believe. I've been to that Gaza border. You cannot go 10 feet without running into a 19-year-old with an AR-15 or an automatic machine gun that is an IDF soldier, right? The whole country is surveilled. And so let me just kind of go through this. We don't talk about Israeli politics very often, and most Americans don't know this. The last 9 months, Israel was on the brink of civil war. It's not an exaggeration. This judicial stuff, there were hundreds of thousands of Israelis taking to the streets because Bibi Netanyahu is basically redefining the Israeli constitution. That's not an exaggeration, right? He said the judicial branch has too much power. There were protests planned this week against Netanyahu, where they anticipated tens of thousands of people to take to the streets. That's all gone, Patrick. Netanyahu now has an emergency government and a mandate to lead. I'm not willing to go so far that saying that Netanyahu knew or there was intelligence here, but I think some questions need to be asked. Was there a stand down order? Was there a stand down order? 6 hours? I don't believe it. Israel's the size of New Jersey. When I took a helicopter ride from Jerusalem to the Gaza border, it's 45 minutes. 6 hours. They're live streaming the killing of Jews. Did somebody in the government say stand down? That is a legitimate non-conspiracy question. The whole country is the IDF. The whole country is. Yeah. And you're trying to tell me that they're going to concerts and kibbutzes and schools and buy...
All right, so here he's actually, for someone in the quasi-mainstream media, the mainstream alternative media, to say this kind of stuff is a big deal. So we had this kind of thing happening. Then we go forward to August 6th, which is just over a month ago. He appears on Megyn Kelly's show, and they talk a little bit about how they're so pro-Israel, they've been shilling for Israel so hard and for so long, and they're really disappointed that they, even when they raise just a tiny little bit of criticism about Israel, they get all this pushback and they get called anti-Semitic, and they feel that they're basically complaining. They're like, look, we have the right to criticize Israel a little bit because we've earned, our colors as Israel supporters. And so it's an interesting conversation. We don't need to play any of it here, but you can listen to that if you want. Okay, then we have August 13th. This tweet here. They would, meaning Israel would kill him. If Charlie turned heel on Israel, they would have someone shoot at him in an open-air event, and they have some idiot groper with a genetically anomalous issue there to be the patsy or fall guy. Part of why you never make the deal with the devil in the first place. This is an incredibly chilling tweet, given that it was made a few weeks ago, because this is exactly what's happened. Okay, then we go forward even a little bit more, and we have Charlie Kirk talking with none other than Ben Shapiro, who is an Israeli intelligence asset. And I'm sure Kirk gets watched closely by Israeli intelligence, but here he is talking to someone directly connected with them, and he is bringing up Israel in a way that's questioning it. So this conversation may also have been a key one that led to his demise.
One thing a friend said to me, interestingly, which is, okay, Charlie, we've pushed back against the media on COVID, on lockdowns, on Ukraine, on the border, so maybe we should also ask a question. Is the media totally presenting the truth when it comes to Israel? Just a question, that maybe we shouldn't believe everything the media says, because I know I've been conditioned to ask a lot more critical questions over the last couple of years. So, Ben, some people would accuse Israel of wanting to ethnically cleanse.
So, again, very dangerous territory for Charlie Kirk to go there talking to Ben Shapiro. Now we have this very interesting clip by Harrison Smith of InfoWars, who reveals that he was told, he doesn't want to say by whom, that Charlie Kirk was scared of being killed after being critical of Israel.
Make a video at least to talk a little bit about my tweet that's gone completely viral from last month. It's now the number one tweet on anything Benjamin Netanyahu is posting. So thanks, guys. Really glad I'm on his radar now. That's cool. But it's true. I mean, I don't really have too much to add to it, honestly. I'm not going to say who it was that told me because they've asked me not to, kind of for obvious reasons. So if they want to go public, they're more than welcome to. I don't have much to add to it other than basically like a month ago, I watched an interview with Megyn Kelly and Charlie Kirk, and I thought they looked scared, and I commented on that, made a video out of it. And then like a day or so later, I was talking to this person, and the way I remember the conversation going was that we were just talking about sort of Israel and Zionism and Zionist influencers, and Charlie Kirk came up, and I remember the other person saying to me, well, Charlie Kirk says he's afraid to go against Israel because he thinks they might kill him. And I said...
So, let's go to the actual assassination itself. Now, I'm not going to show the actual shot where he dies, but right before it, I'm talking just a couple of seconds before it, there is a man here he is, in a white baseball cap, making what seem to be some pretty obvious hand signals, baseball kind of signals. Let's just watch it.
Okay, now 5 is a lot, right? I'm gonna give you some credit. Do you know how many mass shooters there have been in America?
So did you see that? He touched his cap, he did something else here, he has a phone. Something was going on with the people surrounding Kirk right before the actual shooting. Now, there's been a lot of online sleuths who've already pointed to a very suspicious jet that left Provo, Utah very quickly, 30 minutes after the shooting. The owner turns out to be someone called Derek Porter Maxfield. And I wouldn't recommend this article here because I think it's just being put up to deflect, to try to hide Israel's involvement in this. But it does have the tail number, and it is confirming the owner connection. Now, what was interesting about this flight was that the ADS-B signal dropped out after takeoff, which is illegal. You have to have that on at all times. What is the ADS-B? It is the automatic dependent surveillance broadcast that it's an advanced surveillance technology. This is from the FAA site. You can read about it. It's for the transponders. It's so that the plane is known. Every single flying vehicle has to have one, so they're broadcasting that to all the towers around so that everyone knows the exact position. Well, the people at the FAA, at air traffic control, know the exact position, right? You can't just turn it off. But somehow the ADS-B of this flight did go off for a while. Now, when we dig deeper, we can find that Derek and Shalane Maxfield Foundation, the apparent foundation of Derek Porter Maxfield, made a donation to Chabad Lubavitch of Utah. So we have a Jewish connection there. What I find very sickening about this whole thing is the way that it just seems to be so perfect and so programmed. Here we've got Netanyahu being one of the first people out of the gate, telling us that he was murdered, telling us that Charlie Kirk was murdered, telling us why he was murdered, putting in his whole thing about the Judeo-Christian civilization line, which I'm so tired of hearing because that is just such a scam. First of all, you don't need to have any religion to have upstanding, good-hearted morals or values. Secondly, a lot of the Jewish values I see are coming from the Talmud with the ethos of slay them all because they're Amalek, which is what Netanyahu appealed to when they first went into Gaza in October 2023, as well as the whole ethos of rise and kill first, which guides the Israeli assassination programs. According to Israeli journalist Ronan Bergman, there's been over 2,700 assassinations since this program started with the Mossad and also with the other intelligence agencies and other elite units. So this is a value system of just kill whoever gets in our way, and that has nothing to do with being ethical or moral or good-hearted. So this is just a way to try to get the West and especially the US on its side, and a lot of people still fall for it, but it's got to be called out. And this just seems highly suspicious to me. The fact that he would get his word in first, get it out first, 11:21 a.m. right after it had happened. Presumably Netanyahu is doing a lot of things as a leader, like planning wars and assassinations, but why would he care so much about an American alternative journalist to write all this and to get it out so quickly? Same thing with RFK. Only 13 minutes later at 11:34, he's getting this in. RFK is totally owned by Chabad Lubavitch and by the Zionists, just in case you didn't know. Now, this is also interesting. The first media outlet to report on the death of Charlie Kirk, the assassination of Charlie Kirk, was the Jerusalem Post. There you go. Jerusalem Post at the top there. Out of any news agency, even all the US-based ones. Why? And finally, if you're wondering, well, why, what does Israel have to gain from this? I mean, surely this is a very radical move. I mean, Charlie Kirk was still someone that was shilling for Israel. He was still their supporter. Well, I think there's a number of things going on here. First, Israel gets a left-wing lunatic activist to kill Kirk, and that achieves a lot of their goals. Number one, they get to demonize the left. And see, the left has been much more against Israel than the right ever since October 7th. Well, actually, for a long time before that as well, but especially since the October 7th false flag operation. Many people on the left in the US, in Australia, in the UK, around the world, the left has been way more against Israel than the right. So Israel's trying to shore up its support with the West, with the left. And this is basically a way of Israel demonizing the left, who trying to punish the left for not supporting it enough. Of course, they can pull out any kind of, patsy, and they can paint them in any way they want. I mean, Israel was involved with the original mind control program, the MK Ultra program, that started in 1953 under Alan Dulles, but it was Gottlieb, who was actually a Hungarian Jew, who was in charge of that program. So Israel has the mind control technology and techniques. I mean, even if we just look at a recent shooting in the US, of which unfortunately there seem to be a lot, Charlotte Train Stabber says he was under mind control. He believes someone gave him a man-made material that controlled when he ate, walked, talked, etc. This was an article from yesterday. So it's easy, unfortunately, for this cult to mind control patsies and get them to do their dirty work. They can choose a patsy from anyone, any political color, stripe. They just choose them to demonize them and further a political agenda. But I think the other reason that Israel did this was that they're sending a message. This is a very, very chilling message that they can kill anyone, anywhere. They can even kill people that are not directly involved in the fight against them, like not just Hamas officials or Hamas fighters or Iranian scientists. They can kill conservative commentators in the US if they want, if they feel like they're not pro-Israel enough. So this is an incredibly chilling event, and I think the evidence is overwhelming that Israel did this. I understand that a lot of this is still circumstantial and it's hard to get exact proof, and this is only a day later, so I'm sure more evidence will come to light. But this is the mentality of Israel. They are absolutely prepared to assassinate to achieve their goals. They tolerate no criticism. And even people that were on their team, so to speak, even people that are apparently loyal to them, if you start to fall out of favor and you don't do what they want, they will stab you in the back. They will shoot you in the shoulder, in the chest, as they did with Kirk, if you don't support them to the degree that they want. As always, don't take my word for it. Do your own research. Please leave your comments, and all links are placed in the show notes below every time. If you like this video and feel that I've earned it, please like, share, subscribe, and follow. My work is on Rumble, BitChute, Odyssey, and thefreedomarticles.com.